40 years ago, shark hunters reported that Adolf and Eva Hitler fled to Argentina. In March 2025, Argentine President Javier Milei began releasing all their files that proved what we have been saying for decades. How is it so easy for literally thousands of people escaping the crumbled Third Reich to so easily find refuge in South American countries, primarily Argentina? Our second book, Hitler and the Secret Alliance. This book tells all the details about how and why they entered South American countries and were so welcome. There was no problem. They just slid right in, tens of thousands. These next 2 pages are the table of contents. Rather lengthy, so we won't go into them here, but you can scroll back and read them at your leisure. Believe me, this only scratches the surface. Here is a chart covering the airport at Schweidnitz, which is now called Srebrenica. We see this area surrounded by the Red Army, but defended by crack SS troops. They were defending this airstrip so that important people and the so-called Nazi Bell could fly free. Look carefully at the dates. Any questions you have about this chart and everything else are answered in this book. All during the war, and even afterwards, German intelligence agents, supplies, money, and other necessity to keep their spy cells going was smuggled in under several skippers. The upper left is Heinrich Garbers, and in 1943, he made several voyages into Golfo San Matias to a little bay called Caleta de los Loros, Parrot Cove, which is situated in the far northwestern corner of the bay. The bottom photo is his ship, a 90-ton wooden sailing ship. Wood doesn't show up on radar. Germany had more than a dozen such ships making these runs. The top photo is the little shop of the Lausen Wool Company on the shore of Caleta de los Loros. They were all over South America in little towns trading wool, but they were also a front for all the agent activities. The lower photo is the island Trinidad, not to be confused with Trinidad in the Caribbean. This is a rock 2.5 miles long, and Germany took it over prior to the outbreak of the war as a depot and a radio base for their South Atlantic ships. This is a photo I took about 10 years ago, about 2016, I believe, when the Brazilian Navy brought me there for a week to explore. The Brazilian Navy was absolutely great, and we give them a great obrigado. The upper 2 photos are all that remains of that radio station. The bottom 4 photos show good-looking German troops training in the field, right? But they are not German troops. They are Argentine troops with German uniforms, German equipment, training in Argentina. The upper left photo is the crew of the pocket battleship Graf Spee when they arrived in Buenos Aires. The lower photo is Captain Langsdorff, a day before he committed suicide. Niebuhr was the German naval attaché in Buenos Aires and also a spy. Captain Diggins was an adjutant aboard Graf Spee and later a U-boat skipper, and he was a member of Shark Hunters and a good friend. As we are aware, thousands of German scientists, technicians, engineers, etc. came to the USA as part of Operation Paperclip. Others went to the Soviet Union, but many went south. The upper right photo is Professor Kurt Tank, the designer of the Focke-Wulf FW-190, Germany's best fighter plane. He went to Argentina along with some 50 aeronautical engineers and was in charge of designing aircraft for many South American countries. 3 of the top Luftwaffe pilots went to Argentina to rebuild their air force. They were Hans Ulrich Rudel, General Adolf Galland, who was a Shark Hunters member, and Werner Baumbach, the chief of Kampfgeschwader 200, where all the experimental planes were kept. The top photo shows Villa Garcia, where Don Angel Alcazar de Velasco departed aboard a U-boat with Martin Bormann, bound for southern Argentina. Don Angel was a member of Shark Hunters and gave us a tremendous amount of information about Hitler's escape. The bottom photo is all that remains of an Argentine factory that was in round-the-clock operation during the war. It was said that they were refining seal oil. So it was said. When the 2 German submarines surrendered in Mar del Plata, U-530, the top photo, in late July, and U-977 8 days later, the official report said that there was absolutely no paperwork of any kind on board either submarine. The bottom photo is just one of the boxes of paperwork taken from these boats that didn't have any paper aboard. There were several boxes, and the submarine officers allowed me to have full access to these boxes, and that was back in 2008. The top photo is an ultra luxury resort called Xiao Xiao, spelled LLAO-LLAO, and I have no idea how you get Xiao Xiao out of that. But it was about 50 kilometers or so from the estate where Adolf and Eva Hitler lived from 1945 to 1955. Strangely enough, 4 presidents, American presidents, spent time at this resort, each during their own presidencies. Which presidents? It's in the book. The lower photo are the German-Austrian scientists who built a nuclear research laboratory on an island near Xiao Xiao and Hitler's residence. Construction began in 1947, 2 years after the end of the war, and the laboratory was in full swing until early 1950s. We are actually in one of the buildings in this nuclear research laboratory. The top photo is me inside a very, very large building. There's no wood remaining in any of these buildings. No floors, no doors, no doorways, no windows, just empty rock construction. The lower photo is the reactor building itself, which has been blown up. Why the Army felt the need to blow it up, but they did. And it's still there, overgrown to the max, but it's there. The top photo is the chart that showed where the big Ju-390 landed with Hitler on board. He did not come by submarine, and anybody who says he did just doesn't know what he's talking about, because Hitler got violently seasick and was extremely claustrophobic. So he flew. I interviewed many of the old people living in the area. They all confirmed hearing the big plane land, and they told me much more. This photo was taken in the Eden Hotel, the annex of the Eden, which had been owned by Walter, Bruno, and Ida Eichhorn, and they were very strong supporters of Hitler during his climb in politics. This photo was taken in 1947, 2 years after the alleged suicide. It looks pretty good for a dead guy. For full information, go to sharkhunters.com and scroll up to the shop and click on books. You'll see them there. All our books are $25 a piece or $20 a piece to Shark Hunters members, plus $9 shipping anywhere in the world. If you have any questions, send an email to sharkhunters@sharkhunters.com and we'll send you the current issue of our magazine. Thanks for watching.